Good morning. My name is Anna Segal, and I have the pleasure of speaking with Julie Muchin this morning here at the JCC. So welcome, Julie, and thank you for agreeing to do this.
It's my pleasure. Good morning.
So, Julie, let's start off maybe with you telling me when you came to Dallas and why.
I came to Dallas in 1989. I met my husband, Chip, in Milwaukee the year before, and he was moving here without me knowing it at the time. So we were in the early part of our relationship. We'd been dating about 2-3 months, and he mentioned that he might be moving to Dallas for a business opportunity. He was relocating with his family, with his parents. And when I asked him when he was moving, he said it would probably be at the end of the year. So I'm very literal, and I was thinking it would be December, and I thought, well, who knows where this relationship's going to go, if it's going to continue. And it turned out that he moved here about 2 months later in October. So we had a long distance relationship back and forth, and he asked me to marry him. And so I left my family in Milwaukee and I came to Dallas to start a new life.
We're glad you're here because I know that you are involved in the Jewish community here. So what was it like to move here? It's not like you picked this place. You just came along for the ride.
I think I shocked myself probably more than my family, but I'm very family oriented and I have a large family and we're very close. So the fact that I was leaving siblings and leaving my parents, and I lived in Milwaukee since I was 2 years old. So I think I was so excited I was so in love and so excited to start my new life that I had mixed feelings. I was really excited about starting, but yet I was also scared. But I've been here 35 years almost.
35 years?
It will be this summer.
Yeah, it's probably more than quite a bit more
Yes.
than
Yes.
half your lifetime. So good. So how did you find yourself getting settled here and meeting people? What was it like to do that in Dallas? You had no children at the time, and you were just a young couple.
Right. So again, my husband and his parents had joined Sherith Israel. It was a little different. We both were raised in Jewish families. I grew up in a Reform home, and he grew up conservative. And actually, he had lived in a small town, so I think there was only one synagogue that was actually Orthodox at the time. So obviously, we grew up with from different backgrounds, I guess. And so it helped, though, even though it wasn't what I was used to, it helped being affiliated with the synagogue. And so we became involved in a Havara, and we also became involved in it was a young leadership group. And so that's how we started meeting friends. And through that, it kind of expanded through different, experiences that we branched off from those experiences. And then in 1990, so I moved here in 1989. In 1990, I started teaching at the JCC in Plano. So that really helped to be part of the Dallas Jewish community because I was meeting people and getting to be known from people. So I've been teaching the Dallas Jewish community since then.
Wow, so that really speaks to a good role model for how to get involved in a new community is just jump in. It sounds like that's what you both did.
Yeah. Yes, and now we're affiliated with Anshe Torah, so that's another story. But our life has just been tied, just really. We've just been tied to the Dallas Jewish community.
Yeah, very connected,
Yes.
very connected. So you mentioned growing up in Milwaukee, and you mentioned growing up in a Reform home. Was your family connected to the Jewish community the way you are here?
Yes, both my parents grew up in Milwaukee, and so Milwaukee is just, it's different. So at the time when my mom was growing up, her dad was, he believed in belonging to more than one synagogue. So I think there was, on the west side of Milwaukee is where, at the time, the more observant families lived. My mom grew up on the east side of Milwaukee. And so my grandpa had joined both an Orthodox synagogue and a Reform temple. But they ended up growing up. She got her education as much as it was at the time, but they were more involved with Temple Emmanuel in Milwaukee.
Which was Reform, more with the
Which
Reform.
is, and that's where I grew up.
Okay.
So, and my dad's, I think his family was one of the founding members of that temple. So
Okay.
yes.
So you mentioned earlier that you didn't know that much about, the origins of your family in the United States, but just briefly, what if you know how many generations have lived in the United States that you're aware of?
Well, okay, so I do know that my family is Ashkenazi on both sides, and my grandparents came to the United States, my maternal grandparents. My grandmother was a baby, and my grandpa was, I believe, like 18, 20 years old. So my mom and her siblings were the first generation. I have great nieces and nephews, so I guess my mom, I guess 4 generations now.
Yeah.
And then on my biological side of the family, my grandparents came. I think they were the first generation.
Okay, so deep roots.
Right.
Deep roots. So you mentioned teaching in the community. So can you tell us where you've taught?
Well, okay, so I started, since I've been in Dallas, I started out with the JCC. I was teaching in Plano at the time. There was a satellite location. I was there for 13 years. So again, I started in 1990. And then when the J downsized, I went to Temple Shalom, and I taught in their preschool from 2003 till the beginning of the school year 2010. And then I guess I've learned to be flexible. The school was very small, and for different reasons they closed. And I brought my class back to the JCC, and I've been there ever since November of 2010.
Okay.
So I'm currently in my 14th year.
Okay, and what age group are you
I
teaching?
work with 2-year-olds.
2-year-olds.
So.
Okay, so a lot of the Dallas Jewish community has gone through your hands.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I during the summer, a couple of summers, I worked with somebody who was on the staff for a little while, and she was one of my students in Plano.
Oh, wow.
And I now have a very young co-worker, and she's amazing. But she grew up going to the J.
Oh
So
my
it's
goodness.
interesting.
Okay. So what about your personal family? Do you have children?
I do. I have a daughter. She was born here, and we, again, being connected to the Jewish community, we went through a journey trying to have a family, and our daughter Ashley was actually adopted from Jewish Family Service.
Oh, that's lovely.
So-
lovely. Okay, and how old is your daughter?
She's 26, almost 27.
Oh, all grown up,
Yes.
hopefully.
Yes.
Okay, and is she still in Dallas?
She is in Dallas.
Okay, that's great. So did you come here, in Milwaukee, were you a preschool teacher also?
No, actually, I was teaching kindergarten. I'm certified, so I'm now certified preschool through 8th grade in Texas, but in Wisconsin, I was certified kindergarten through 8th grade. So I'd gone to the University of Wisconsin in Madison, got my degree there, moved back to Milwaukee to be closer to my family, and then I taught in the Milwaukee Public Schools for 5 years, and I started out as a substitute teacher for a year, and then I taught kindergarten until I moved here.
Oh, good. Okay. So have you noticed any changes in the Dallas Jewish community since you moved here?
I think it's moved so much farther north. I know we have friends that grew up here, and the friends that we have, a lot of them live like south of 635. But then again, I guess, and then we have other friends in just our lives. We live in far north Dallas, and I just have seen Plano, when I first started teaching there, it was so different. And now there's, Jewish community farther north, and, Frisco, even farther. I know that there's synagogues in Plano that didn't exist when we moved here.
Yeah,
So.
It really has changed a lot. So here's a question, because this will be archived. How would you like to be remembered?
I think I would like to be remembered somebody who was passionate about working with children, helping them be the best person that they could be, and feel confident and loved and safe. I'd like to be, personally, I guess I'd like to be remembered as somebody who was kind and gave everybody a chance.
I think the community is very grateful that you moved from Milwaukee. You have to thank your husband for bringing you here. So just to circle back to the very beginning, if someone would contact you and say, well, I'm moving to Dallas, what's it like? What advice would you give them?
I found it to be very friendly. I think you need to, yes, it's nice to reach out. I think there's so many ways to find somebody to connect with. First of all, I guess they could even, I think the JCC is just a good contact place to give people some information about the Dallas Jewish community. But I think people just need to ask questions, and I feel like everybody's just I've only had warm and welcoming people, so I think if you want to be involved in the Dallas Jewish community, I think you need to just contact one of the organizations and start from there. And if people can become affiliated with the synagogue somehow, I know that there's different places that you also don't need to be affiliated, where you could reach out and just kind of start from there. That makes sense.
Great. Is there anything else you would want to add or tell us?
I just think it's really just important. I guess if somebody wants to be connected also to the Jewish community or have their children experience it, there's so many options, but I also know that camps and stuff like that too. And that was one thing. I grew up at a camp, went to a camp from the time I was 11 years old, and I think that also instilled some of my feelings about the importance of, living the life that I do. I went to camp with kids that were Jewish. It wasn't necessarily a Jewish camp. It was actually owned by a Jewish family. But I just think it's whatever experiences you provide for your family.
So it's just being connected
Right.
in many different ways. It sounds like that's been your life. You've had
Yes.
many touch points. And well, we're glad you're here. We're glad you're raising all those children. And thank you for doing this. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it.